language teaching, there are various types of methods and approaches that makes the learning easier for the learners. And now I am going to introduce one. It is called oral approach. The oral approach or situational language teaching is based on a structural view of language, speech, structures, and a focus on a set of basic vocabulary items are seen as the basis of language teaching. So basically, since it is based on the most basic vocabulary items, it is one of the easiest and the simplest way in language teaching and language learning. So this approach has many proponents, including French, Gurry, Frisbee, and Willows. But during the 60s, one of the most active proponents of oral approach is an Australian citizen whose name is George Pittman. For the objectives, in this approach, the learners must be able to produce accurate pronunciation and use of grammar. So based on the approach itself, which is the oral approach, oral, which means language or spoken language, it means it focuses on the proper pronunciation of the words in language teaching. The next is to be able to respond quickly and accurately in speech situations with an automatic control of basic structures and sentence patterns. So with the help of oral approach, which is the approach used in teaching language to the students, their exposure to oral communication will help them cope up easier when they are in the bigger field, or say for example in real life situations when they are being faced with this kind of situation wherein they are included in some conversation. Since they have exposure already to oral communication, they will be able to cope up with it easily. Next are the characteristics of the oral approach. First, language teaching begins with the spoken language. So material is taught orally before it is presented in written form. So if you are going to teach your student, first you must teach them how to say the words properly in order for them to know what will be written down, since the letters have different pronunciation. So if they know how to pronounce a word correctly, they will find it easy to write these words or these sentences down. Next, the target language is the language of the classroom. Say for example, me as an English major student. So our classroom language is English, so it is the target language. Therefore, the focus language of this approach is English, and it is what will be enhanced using this approach. New language points are introduced and practiced situationally. So they say that different cultures, different pronunciations, but they have the same meaning. Just like some words which are spelled the same and pronounced the same but has different meanings in different fields. Say for example the word program. So this word can mean program, which is the ceremony, or program, which is used in computers. Next, reading and writing are introduced once a sufficient lexical and grammatical basis is established. Like what I said earlier, that it focuses on the pronunciation, the correct pronunciation first before it proceeds to the reading and writing. Next are the advantages and the disadvantages of oral approach. First, let's talk about their advantages. The first advantage is that the subject matter can be explained easily, since it is based on the most basic set of vocabulary. Understanding it will not be that hard. It helps to introduce the vocabulary, including abstract vocabulary, by using rare as well as a planned situation. So in learning, we should start at the most basic to the most complex. So as what this lesson has started, or where it is based in the most basic 1, the most basic set of vocabularies. Moving further, it slowly levels up its complexity to where the students can reach it. Next is the disadvantages. So first, the teachers find it very difficult to present all the appropriate situations, and this forms an extra burden for the teachers. So when it says difficult, it's not the difficult wherein the teacher can't present it. They can present it, but they find it hard when it comes to the basis, the right basis in the real life situations. A boring teacher who is not sure about what he or she is teaching. So there are some cases that the teachers are forced or placed in a field which is not their expertise. And it makes it hard for them to teach the lesson since it's not their expertise, and they might get confused sometimes and they will become unsure of what they are saying, and it makes the class boring, which is not what it should be. Next, a learner has no control over the contents of the learning. So this type of approach is like a spoon-feeding type of approach in giving lessons to the students. So it is the students will only rely to what their teacher is teaching them. Next, let's go to the activities anchored to this approach. First is the listening practice. In this activity, the teacher obtains her or his students' attention and repeats an example of the patterns or a word in isolation clearly several times, or probably saying it slowly to separate each words in the sentence for the students to know what word is that and what word is this and how it is pronounced correctly. Next is the choral imitation. This activity is where the students altogether repeat what the teacher had said for them to be able to master how that certain word is pronounced. Next is the question-answer drilling. The teacher gets one student to ask a question and another to answer until most students in the class have practiced asking and answering the new type of question. So this activity includes not just the teacher and the ears of the students, but it includes socialization with other students because they are going to ask their classmates something that needs an answer. Next is the learner roles. In the initial stages of learning, the learner is required to simply listen and repeat what the teacher says and to respond to questions and comment. So basically, the learner's role is just to listen, to lend their ears fully to their teachers for them to be able to hear what she is saying about the pronunciation or about what she is saying, and to repeat what she said and to answer the command of the teacher. Next is the teacher roles. In the presentation stage of the lesson, the teacher serves as a model, setting up situation. So basically, she is like the foundation of the learning of the lesson for her students. So in which the need for the target structure is created and then modeling the new structure for the students to repeat. So by repeating what she had said, the students will be able to master how it is said correctly. Now let's proceed to the activity of this lesson. The class will be divided in two groups. So the first group will present a role play about teachers using total physical approach in teaching their students, and the group 2 will present also a role play about teachers but using the oral situational approach in teaching their students.